Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Tetron. Thank you for being here tonight. Whether you're watching this live, watching it back, I do appreciate you very much. I don't know what's going on with my hair today. Just like sticking up on the left side here. Got to fix that real quick, but whatever. Who cares? Probably going bald one day anyway. I'm already starting to bald. Not a good sign considering I'm literally turning 24 this month. So I don't know how much longer I'm gonna have my hair. I'll enjoy it while I can. But again, thank you guys for being here. It's been another volatile week for GameStop. I mean, volatile relative to I don't actually maybe not even that volatile. Well, yes, today wasn't that much, right? But and it's just kind of moving sideways ever since this giant move here. So I would still say it's volatile, but there's definitely much more volume, right? Like when in doubt, zoom out, just look at the big picture. Didn't take much volume to move down here, but we moved up a lot here, and now it seems like the Bulls and the Bears are just absolutely duking it out. But very interesting to me. The first thing that stands out is we're kind of had this big jump, little dip, and now we're kind of consolidating. So, one could speculate we're going to see a move up from there, and we have a kind of almost a quadra, or what's after quadra? Not cinco, that's Spanish. Oh my gosh. I don't know what would be after that, but it's almost like one, two, three, four, five tops right here, about around the same price in the range of like 1715 to 1740. Although this may be a double top, and these three are their own thing. But again, those of you that know me, no, I don't do technical analysis. I try and just kind of look at things as a whole. Just continuing to learn little by little, and not really. I don't know. To me, like TA, that's just not my cup of tea. It's just not really what I'm interested in. I'm not opposed to like becoming aware of information. I do know some simple stuff, like I'm aware of what an RSI is, what the MACD is, right? But I'm never like, oh, well, look, it perfectly crossed, and everything's like perfect and dandy, right? Like that's just not how I go about it. And I truly think you never really know in the short term. Some would argue different between the options flow and just technical analysis. But again, I just like the stock. I focus on the long term. Anything I do pretty much focuses on the long term. And I think Ryan Cohen has that style as well. But again, thank you guys for joining me. Let's say hi to the chat real quick. Alina, what's good? Number one today. Appreciate you being here. Ward, Logan, we're going to the moon and beyond. Hey, Ward, those are your words, not mine. But thanks for being here. Matt, let's fucking go. Thanks for being here. We are ready? Yes, we are. I would say so. I've always been ready. I was born ready. But Chad Clifford, Tetron, who wins in a fight? Morantz or PP Seeds? I gotta say Morantz. I think if you threw me in that mix too, Morantz would also win in a fight. But oh my god, I'm not even gonna get into the PP Clown show. But listen, everyone's gonna do what they're gonna do. Everyone's gonna have their opinions, and you have to like agree to disagree. And this is all just strictly my opinion, right? You can disagree. That's totally fine. Well, you can agree to disagree, but there's a line between like just absolute nonsense and just disagreement. And it's like, oh, they're trying to make us fight each other, right? This magical they is trying to make us all fight each other, right? As individuals. No, I think just there could be like-minded individuals on certain aspects that aren't like-minded in other aspects. But at the end of the day, like it is what it is. They're gonna keep doing their thing. I'm gonna keep doing my thing. Other people are gonna keep doing their own thing, right? It's everyone can do whatever they want at the end of the day, right? And believe whatever they want. And I can't influence that. No, I feel like one person can influence that. There's always gonna be people who feel like this, feel like that, think this is crazy, think this is nonsense, and you just got to make your own determinations. That's the best thing I can say. Like you got to make your own determinations, and it's crazy. What's his name? Vivek, that guy that is running, or I don't think he's running anymore because just the two of them left now, the two old guys for the presidency. But oh man, it is what it is, right? I just focus on GameStop, macroeconomics, and what I'm interested in. I think the bottom line is Bed Bath and Beyond stock is gone, and it's unfortunate, and it is what it is, right? It is what it is. That's all I can really say. And you can disagree. You think there's this magical, super, triple, mega, quadra, super secret merger? Sure, go ahead and think that. I can only share what I think. And thank you guys for being here, for taking the time to hear some of my thoughts tonight. But definitely, it seems like we're consolidating to make a move. But at the same time, I've seen this song and dance so many times. There's like every time you think something's going to happen with GameStop, it doesn't, right? And look at this chart, like on the daily, right? Because these are daily candles here. When you do the year-to-date chart, just huge moves up, huge move up and down on Monday. Tuesday, not as much. Then literally closing like flat, and then Wednesday, pretty much the same thing, just down a tad. So Pretty much the stock hasn't moved since the week started, right? Because if you look at market open on Monday, well, it opened lower on Monday, right? And then it climbed right here. This is where it opened on Monday. And then it climbed all the way back, but its previous close, I believe, yeah, this was Friday's close, right? Right about here. So it is what it is. That's all I can say. Like again, as you can tell, I just even talking about like I don't do TA. Like that's just not my what I'm interested in. Like obviously I'm interested in watching the price action and I'll speculate, but I'm not gonna make like any determinations of what I'm investing in, right? Because there's trading and there's investing. And to me, I'm an investor and other people are traders in some scenarios. So I'll just keep focusing on investing. Right now, I'm like, okay, like when is the next opportunity to buy shares if I want to do so, right? And that would be upon a dip some kind. Like, but I'm never again using the chart. I'm just like, okay, like this is the point I want to buy shares. But anyways, moving on. A couple things I want to talk about. I started to put it together a little bit. Comparing SG&A of GameStop to Walmart and Best Buy on a percentage basis. You know, just for some perspective. Another quick thing to touch on. We saw more shares sold by Mark Robinson. Very small amount this time. Only 214 relative to the amount total that he has. And this time you could see it was specific to withholding taxes. And this did come out on the 7th, or sorry, the 6th was the date of the transaction. So this isn't like it just happened today. But again, very small. And I said it last year, and I'll say it again. You don't know every individual's decisions, right? Like you don't know why they're making the decisions, I meant to say. And everyone has their own reasons. And at the end of the day, that's why you got to focus on yourself. Always try and look at the big picture. I think that's really the best way to go about it. Never, ever, ever just blindly follow anyone out there. It doesn't matter if it's Tetron. It doesn't matter if it's Jesus. It doesn't matter if it's your favorite presidential candidate, right? Whoever it is. Like, I don't think you should blindly follow anyone. You should always try your best to keep an open mind, right? And it's not always easy, especially the world we live in now. Like there's so much thrown in people's faces all the time. But I really, really do try and do my best to keep an open mind. I think, is this really possible? And I'm not saying I'm perfect, right? But got to try your best, right? If you're not trying your best, then you're not trying at all. So moving on from that, I just threw it in today, literally as we were starting the stream. So it doesn't look very neat at this point, but I was looking at Walmart's SG&A. They actually don't even have it in percentages on their annual report, so I had to break it down. So let's move this. Yep, make this bigger. So you can see SG&A, right? And if you think of percentage wise on SG&A, if their SG&A percentage is 20.21, that would mean 20 cents of every dollar they make goes towards SG&A, right? Like obviously that's not exactly the case, but just generally speaking, if you want to look at things as a whole, that's a way you could think of it in simpler terms. And then cost of sales is 75.62% of revenue, or 75 cents of every $1 they made. So overall, you know, operating profit comes to about 4% for Walmart. And then 2023 was around the same number, a little bit slightly higher in SG&A. Cost of goods the same. SG&A slightly lower in 2022, and cost of sales slightly lower than that. But you could see, generally speaking, you could say Walmart's SG&A is like 20.5%, and cost of sales is about 75.5%, or maybe 76%, right? Again, just as rough numbers. And the reason I'm looking at these numbers is to get perspective of what should GameStop keep driving to move towards. Because people say, oh, well, you know, right now their operating profit isn't that great. But if they get to this, it's like, okay, well, percentage wise, they are in line with, I would call them relative competitors, although not exactly, because they're much more broad in what they sell, especially Walmart. You know, Walmart's like literally anything from groceries to technology to like a phone case, right? Maybe a glasses case. I don't know what else I have on my desk here. They got some markers, right? Like they have everything. So, and if you're not aware, like the reason Walmart was really created and why it had a lot of success, as far as I'm aware, is a lot before Amazon. People that lived in, like I live in a really busy area, right? Like there's houses on top of each other. So there's people everywhere. Anything you want to get to, you can easily drive to. But if you live out in like the Midwest where there's a lot of space between everything, going to your grocery store can be pretty far away. Going to just buy some basic clothing could be a pretty significant drive. And prior to Amazon and just a lot of online shopping, and just the internet becoming a thing as a whole. How Walmart found success is because they're like, oh, well, there's people who want to go buy everything they need in one place, but they don't have one place to do that. So I mean that's just a very rough story of how Walmart kind of found its success. I mean obviously it's much deeper than that, and there's a lot more execution and information in between the start to where they are now. And obviously they adapted really well to going online. And since I'm on this tangent anyway, something a professor told me a long time ago, and I was like, wow, that's actually like so true. Amazon could have been beat by another company to become what Amazon is today, and they would be the hugest company probably in the world, or maybe not hugest, right? But they would be of Amazon's size, right? And let's pull up Amazon since we're talking about it anyway. And you know what that company is? Sears. So I'm not necessarily old enough to remember it, but when you look at and see how much success Amazon has had over the past couple decades, right? It's remarkable how much the stock price has gone up, and it's crazy because if you look at 2000 peak to trough, it literally went down like 90% or so, which is just at that time people are like, oh my god, like it's so screwed. And imagine you just held these last couple decades, right? Like you'd be doing fantastic financially. But what I'm trying to say is when you look at what Sears had, they had something called the Sears catalog. Like everything was on there. If they had put the Sears catalog online, they essentially could have been Amazon before Amazon, and they probably would have evolved in a way to become just about fast shipping and just ultimately bringing like almost literally anything to be sold online. Because if you think about it, Amazon was originally a bookstore online, and it was able to evolve into what it is today, just selling more and more products. But if Sears was ahead of the game and they had that catalog online and they had the brand recognition at the time, like Sears used to be huge. Like I remember going there when I was a kid with my parents. They even had like an auto center, and this place was like ginormous. And now there's literally not a single Sears left standing. And obviously, it's not that black and white. There could have been things that stopped that from happening. But I think, it's very possible that Sears could have been the Amazon today had they had put the catalog online and just been ahead of the curve. But obviously that wasn't the case. And, I am completely went on a tangent here, but to get back, what I'm trying to look at is SG&A comparison. And then I pulled up Best Buy's, right, SG&A. And if you look at it here, it's 18.1% for the year of 2024. 2023, you had 17.2. 2022, you had 16.7. So you can see their SG&A number is actually going up over these past couple of years, whereas Walmart's is pretty steady. And then we go up to GameStop, right? And we want to look at the yearly totals. So also keep in mind, 2024 has already occurred for Best Buy and Walmart. Or sorry, yeah, this is Best Buy on the bottom here. This is Walmart up here. And I have the specific numbers here. But it's the fiscal year that which they report, right? So their 2024 is equivalent to GameStop's 2023. So you can see GameStop's most recent SG&A came out to 25.1% for the year. The previous 2 years, it was 28.4% of overall revenue. So looking at these numbers, it'd be really nice to see if they're able to get it somewhere between this range, right, of about 20% to 18%. So if they can ultimately get it down to 19%, although I don't see that necessarily happening in 2024, I think that would be remarkable. But I do see the overall number definitely coming down in 2024. But what could offset it is if revenue declines a little, although I'm really hoping that we see it just flatline this year. I don't think they're going to do anything significant to grow the revenue. I think CandyCon will certainly help. And those of you who don't know, oh, that's not it. But GameStop launched their own private label brand. Maybe they're going to do more with that specific private label brand. Maybe they're going to do another private label brand in the near future, and we'll have to see about that, obviously, right? But I think those are aspects that could drive revenue forwards. Oh, and one thing I didn't pull up that I'm definitely going to talk about is Larry Chang's tweet, which I thought he really provided some good insight about cost cutting and just revenue being stagnant. He's like, it's not about any particular company, although it really sounds like it's about GameStop, right? And obviously you can speculate on that. But what I'm trying to just show here is I think, they could do some more work on the SG&A. And obviously, if they ultimately like scale revenue, this will change, right? In the sense, you got to realize you got to look at like the number itself, but you also have to look at the percentage. But you have to realize like what the percentage means relative to the whole number. And you always have to just look at the big picture is what I'm trying to say, because I want them to be more in line with like Walmart and Best Buy in terms of percentage of SG&A. But I also understand, it's not that black and white where it's like, oh, they have to get this number to be lower or it's just all terrible, right? It's just about like efficient capital management, and that's also where you have to believe in the management team to make those decisions from within to maintain efficient capital management, right? But we'll see how that continues to go in 2024. Q1 is officially already in the books. When April ended, Q1 ended because GameStop's Q1 is February, March, April. So with that being the case, we should get a report in about 30-ish days or so. I believe that's when GameStop's Q1 usually comes out. Let's look at quarterly filings when it came out last year. Current reports. Yeah, March. Oh no, June. June is usually, what am I saying, March? March already passed. June 7th was when the last Q1 report was. So you could expect in about a month or so from now, that's when we'll be getting Q1 earnings, which seems pretty close actually. Wow, I feel like Q4 earnings slash full year earnings wasn't that long ago. I know obviously it was a little while ago at this point, but it doesn't feel like too long ago. But at the same time, I feel like time's just flying. I don't know about you guys, but definitely feels like time's flying. It's crazy. Anyways, we'll hit the chat here. I'll put up the beautiful GameStop chart once more. You get the overall chart here. We've seen a little spike up. And I think one day, out of nowhere, maybe we'll see this again. I mean, this is a truly remarkable candle, right? This is a truly remarkable candle going from, split adjusted from 450, peaking at 121, to closing at 81. Just crazy. And this is a remarkable candle too, going the other way. And chop, 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 chop to where we are today. And some are saying it's the largest bull flag of all time. I believe that's what you call it. Shout out Dorito Doom, badass trader. But yeah, this is where we stand right now. Just looking at it as a whole. I think once you kind of break through this little resistance we're getting here, it's about getting through this next level, maybe, and then getting back into the 20s, right? And we'll see if GameStop can do that heading into the next earnings. We'll absolutely have to see. Could it happen? Maybe. Could it happen? Maybe not. We'll have to see. But uh, are you having an inception moment? Alina? Maybe. You've said it. This one is so many times in a row. I'm starting to think this is not what it is. Ray? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, man. Damn, I have those filler words, you know what I mean? Where it's like you just keep saying the same thing. You're like, oh, what was my next thought? What was my next thought, right? But I'm hoping for a few whales, make huge buy orders. Alina, it could be happening. It certainly could be happening. It certainly could happen this week. And maybe I really should learn more about the options chain just to get perspective. But I don't know. I just feel like there's it's just not in line with what I do. But I guess that's not a reason not to know it, though, right? That's not a reason not to know it, though. Quite a battle going on with the stock. Jackson's, thanks for being here. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Wendy, thanks for being here. Appreciate you very much. When Moas seems getting near UKU, maybe. I mean, again, I've said this in the past, and I'll say it once more. It all depends what your definition of MOAS is, right? Obviously, it's defined as the mother of all short squeezes, but how high the mother of all short squeezes go is, I feel like, just entirely up for interpretation, right? You can craft your own individual opinion on that. But just to me, what the mother of all short squeezes is just an immense amount of demand with a very limited supply of shares, just causing an extreme price movement up. At what point we'll see that? I truly don't know, and I'm not going to try and tell you because I truly don't know, and I'm in it for the long term, and however long it takes, right? Tetron could beat the lens off PP. Mr. Gypsy Fish, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not much of a fighter, but listen, I'm not even responding to that, right? Your words, not mine. But where's Morantz? Joshua? I don't know, man. Morantz is a homie. Maybe he's doing his own stream right now. This guy is so active. Like, he's always grinding. And he's a hustler, man. He's a big time hustler. So shout out Morantz. Sears was the number one retail store in the 70s and 80s. Massey, thanks for being here. Exactly. You're absolutely right. It was absolutely huge. It had kind of like Walmart in a sense where it just had so much. I mean, obviously, it wasn't the same as Walmart. But yeah, I think if Sears put its catalog online, who knows what things would look like today. I certainly don't think they would be bankrupt, but obviously anything's possible. And there's a lot more that goes into it than just like, oh yeah, they put the catalog online, everything's great, right? Time is definitely flying. Donko, I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. Thanks for being here. Big week for GME, big week for Tedrick. Scott, thank you for being here. You know what's funny? My brother just said to me, like, yo, like, you know what? I just caught up, like, on the Kendrick and Drake stuff. And I'll be honest, like, I used to love rap, like, in high school. And, I feel like a lot of kids do these days. Like, it's, like, the most common genre of music, like, in school. Obviously, not every kid likes it, right? But I was still interested in college, but now since I've been out of college, like especially the last couple of years, like I just genuinely really don't have much interest in it at all. Like I used to love Eminem growing up, and that's what really got me into it. And some like classic rap songs, like some old Kanye, some like 50 Cent, stuff like that is I think is pretty good. But anything new coming out, like I don't know, I just don't really have that much interest in it. Although I like that one song where it's like that people from the bottom really like that, like something like that, right? Catchy, right? But at the same time, like I don't know, people are like, oh, he's saying Drake's a pedophile, and oh, he's roasting him for this, right? I don't even know. I don't even know. But then again, all my friends call me Facebook because I'm late to everything. You know how like the meme of like things will be on Instagram like 3 months later, parents will be like, have you seen this meme? And it's like Facebook gets all the memes late. My friends call me Facebook relative to the trends going on. So that's just some perspective on that. But next Friday is gonna be interesting with 100K in the money call options expiring. Regardless, we buy, hold, shop, book, and shop. Ryan, your words, not mine, man. Yeah, you always got to do what's best for you as an individual, as a shareholder. If you own a company, I truly think you should absolutely shop it, right? Even if it's as simple as you own Pepsi stock, why would you choose to buy Coca-Cola over Pepsi, right? Just simple stuff like that. I mean, obviously, that's a much more different example. But I think with GameStop's case, why would you buy a headset from GameStop, from Best Buy instead of GameStop if you're a GameStop shareholder, right? Do you want to support the company by shopping the company? And that old post that Mark Cuban had put in Wall Street Bets a long time ago, he's like, this happened, it'll happen again, something like that, blah, blah, blah. But just like one of the best things you could do is to shop the company, uh, purchase, visit the stores, etc. Right? Just basically being involved with the company, not just the stock. And I think that kind of like opened up people's perspectives, right? Let's see. Morant's taking a breather because all of his DRS killed volume rants are BS. Jimmy Liquid's fucked because there are like 6 billion shares in circulation. Scott, again, your words, not mine, man. But yeah, listen, I personally choose to directly register a large majority of my shares, and I don't want to tell anybody what to do, right? Because it's everyone's own decision. You got to make the determination if that's what's best for you. And I'm not in the business of saying like everyone's got to do this, everyone's got to do that. But I think it could come down to it again, where you see what happened in the past, where just suddenly you weren't able to buy on any single platform, position close only, just something bizarre, right? That if you told someone that, right, if you told me back in 2019, or probably anybody watching this, that there would be a single day or period of time where you're literally not allowed to buy a stock, the brokers are just like, sorry, you're not allowed to buy this. You'd say, come on, that's crazy. That would never actually happen, right? But it happened. So if it happened before, you don't think it could happen again. So that's my perspective on it. And I also, in reading about it, understand, the DTC is represented by Seed & Co. and any share held by Seed & Co. is technically not in your name, right? Like, yes, it's like for your benefit or it's held on your behalf, but the only way it's truly registered in your name as an individual is if it's in ComputerShare. But again, everyone has their own reasons why they may or may not want to be in ComputerShare. And I understand, the theories about liquidity and whatever, but to me, I am doing it because it's best for me. That's what it boils down to. It's best for me to have my share directly registered, and that's where I want it. I know it's in my name. I know I can access it. There's some that speculate, oh, computer share looks like it was a website made in the 2000s. It's never been updated. Listen, I get that, but they're not a brokerage. They're not built for trading, right? They're not going to have like charts like this. It's just not the business they're in. And I also understand, there's fees and that's not ideal given that pretty much any broker now does not have like any fees associated with doing trades, almost ever that I've ever seen now. Honestly, Robinhood really changed the game on that. I remember when I first started like to dabbling, right, and trading and not knowing what I was doing a long time ago. It was like, oh, I have to make $7 a trade. Like, you better like factor that in. Like, I can't just buy $100 of stock. Like, or I would buy like I would, right? I would buy $100 of stock. I'm like, okay, like I have to hold on to this for a while, or it has to make a big move because I have to pay another $7 to sell it, right? And then it cut to like five, and then three, and then eventually, I literally remember like within a week of span, like Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Schwab, all of them, like pretty much like, oh, $0 fees. And it's also because like Robinhood was just gaining so much traction for not having fees, and I think a couple other platforms copied it, and they just didn't want to lose market share, right? But that's how things evolved, and Robinhood was seen as a great thing for that reason, and I used it previously for that exact reason as well. Like, oh wow, this is pretty neat. Like, I'm trading with such a small amount of money. I want to just be able to buy as much as I can with my $100 of purchasing power, right? As just like a high school student. But then, obviously, January 2021 happened, and I think a lot of people's opinions just completely changed on them. But that's just the way she goes, right? Sometimes things have to happen a certain way and just evolve. But again, just make your own decisions. Do what's best for you. I really think that's number one. And I really just want to be a champion of that going forwards. I'm not saying I'm perfect in any which way, but I think you got to do what's best for you. And it's okay to be a little selfish sometimes. I think uh, it goes both ways, right? And I don't know why, like, like, and this is why I'm like Facebook to my friends. Everyone's talking about this guy Sketch, like the streamer, like a month ago, and now like his stuff is like stuck in my head for some reason. He's like, some people give, some people take. I only take. Like, I don't know why that like keeps popping in my head anytime I say selfish, but anyways, point being, it's okay to be a little selfish sometimes and put yourself first. Like, I think there's people who are complete, like, it goes like both ways, right? Like, there's people completely selfish, only worry about themselves. You don't have any empathy towards anyone else. I think that's really bad. But then there's also other people that put other people first, care so much what other people think that they forget to like literally think about themselves and do things that are good for them, right? And obviously, this is very generally speaking, but I think it's okay to be a little selfish sometimes. Like, okay, like, I need to do this because this is best for me, right? And you have to take that. Obviously, it's all in context of what it is, and that's where also I think individuals have to make their own decisions. Like, when should I do what's best for me? And at one point, like it all varies, right? It all varies. And I'm just going on a complete tangent here, but I think there's this idea in some people's minds. They're like, oh, I couldn't do that. Like, I shouldn't. I'll be seen as selfish, right? And I feel like I've worried about that sometimes. But if I'm like, all right, like my friends want to hang out, they said I would come, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you know what? Like, I just got to get this done today. Like, I just got to get this done today. Like, I'm sorry to cancel. Like, we'll do something soon, right? Obviously, I wouldn't do that if I hadn't seen a friend in like a year, right? Something like that. But if it's like a friend I commonly see, I think like they'll understand, right? I don't know. Just a random ass example, but Scott, last week was nuts. Jimmy and Kendrick made it one of the best weeks in a while. Massey guess who purchased Sears assets and hired the staff of their bankruptcy. Amazon. Scott, would you look at that? Can't say I'm surprised, right? Let's go. 420 Bong Smoke. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. I haven't seen you in a minute. Hello, hello. DV, dear SGME. Everyone's here. They've got the whole gang popping in. But, on the topic of Robinhood freezing everything that happened in January 2021, freezing purchasing of stocks. Why can't I talk today? Yo, 420 Bong Smoke. You always remind me to drink water, so I'm gonna drink water right now. Take a breather. But the GameStop report, right, or the SEC report, essentially, they came out that basically it was not a short squeeze. It was a gamma ramp, and it was a lot of individuals buying stock. And I can tell you, I remember from that time period, there were people I hadn't talked to in high school that I know didn't know shit about stocks or have any interest in trading ever, that were texting me like, how do I get in GameStop and fast? And I was like, what the heck? Or like, how do I buy stocks quickly? My whatever account application is still pending. I had a friend tell me like, yeah, I applied for Robinhood and it's taking so long to get approved. Like, it's been days. Like, what is going on? Like, I'm missing out. Like, it was crazy. Like, everyone had so much money from like the stimulus. That was an aspect of it, but also just social buzz around it was just so high. Everybody was just racing into it, right? It was truly, truly a crazy time. And, funny enough, I'm looking at this report here as I'm skimming through the consolidated audit trail CAT. This is supposedly about to be updated. But what I'm trying to go towards here is really it was the brokers being liquid and the settlement time that caused them to stop. Like, oh, we have to. Like, we don't have enough liquidity, right? If we keep executing these trades, they're not settling in time and we can't have it on our books, right? And an aspect of that changing now is right now it's T plus two, right? Which means if I were to, okay, if I have a stock, I go in, I put money in my brokerage tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. I buy it. The transaction doesn't settle until Monday, right? So that's 2 business days later. Whereas now, what it's going to be changed to is 1 business day. So if I do that same transaction 1 Thursday from now, let's say it's June 8th, right? Is June 8th a weekday? Whatever. Say June 6th, right? The Thursday, June 6th. This will be in effect. That would mean the trade would clear the next business day. So, what is settlement? When you buy or sell securities, settlement refers to the official transfer of securities to the buyer's account and the cash to seller's account. Since 2017, the settlement cycle, the time between the transaction date and settlement date for most securities transactions has been 2 business days, often referred to as T plus 2 under T plus 2. If you sold ABC stock on Monday, the transaction would settle on Wednesday under T plus 1 settlement cycle. And quick side note, prior to 17, it used to be T plus 3. So the SEC, it moves like a snail. Call them Gary the Snail. That's what we should call Gary Gensler, Gary the Snail. I mean, the SEC is like SpongeBob, right? Probably a bunch of Patricks running things. I love that clip of Elon. Whatever you think of him, I think that clip of him saying, I want to be clear, when they're like, oh, he's like, oh, I might make some mistakes when he's on 60 Minutes. It's right after, like, you can't tweet anymore because he was like, might take Tesla private at 420, which is like crazy that was the whole thing. Because if you look at Tesla stock now compared to then, it's so much higher. It would have been bad for investors if you took it private, right? So it's kind of just funny looking at it in hindsight. But I just love that clip in that 60 Minutes video where he's like, oh, she's like, what do you mean? Whatever. He's like, I want to be perfectly clear. Then he gets like mad serious. He's like, I want to be very clear. I do not respect the SEC. I do not respect him. And she's like, but you're abiding by the settlement. Because he's like, I respect the justice system. I think those are some very strong words, right? And I do not respect the SEC either, but I respect the justice system, right? So I'll agree with that. But under T plus 1 settlement cycle, all applicable securities transactions from U.S. financial institutions will settle 1 business day after the transaction date. For example, if you sell ABC stock on Monday, transaction will settle on Tuesday. That means if you have a security certificate, you may need to deliver your uh, security certificate to your broker dealer earlier or throughout different means than you do today. If you hold securities with your broker dealer will deliver the securities on your behalf 1 day earlier. Similarly, see, broker dealer versus security certificate, DRS essentially, right? I mean, roughly speaking. Similarly, if you are buying a security subject to the T plus 1 settlement cycle, you may need to pay for securities transactions 1 business day earlier. If you have a margin account, the T plus 1 settlement cycle may impact certain provisions of your margin agreement. Please consult with your broker dealers any changes that may specifically affect your account. And like I have Charles Schwab just for the sake of using Thinkorswim because they got acquired by TD Ameritrade, and they sent like an email with like some of the information on that. And there's a little bit more here, like if you click these links. But what will be interesting, right? On or after May 28th, that means if May 28th is the first day, May 29th is going to be a really interesting Wednesday, right? And I'm not saying like, oh, something for GameStop is going to happen that day. Like, I'm not even trying to speculate like that. Why it will be interesting, it will be a day where Monday, May 27th, will be T plus 2. Tuesday, May 28th, will be T plus 1. So, with that being the case, that means Wednesday, May 29th, is actually going to be a double settlement date. So, if it's a double settlement date, that means the T plus 1 trades from Tuesday are clearing on that day, as well as Monday. So, could that affect brokers in some way or another? I don't necessarily think so, but maybe it's something interesting. Maybe the market is extremely volatile in some shape or form because of that, or just something we don't see coming. That's all I'm saying. Where it's like we're coming, it's like, oh, why is something weird happening today? Maybe it has something to do with that, right? And that's just pure speculation. I'm just throwing a random idea out there, right? That won't necessarily happen, but it's just interesting to think that that's going to be taking place. Like there's going to be double settlement there's going to be 2 trading days worth of trades settling on 1 business day. Like that's just something that's very rare. And the last time that happened would have been 2017 when the transition happened. It'd be interesting to look back from then when it went from T plus 3 to T plus 2. Was there anything funky that took place in some shape or form, right? That might be something interesting to look at. But also it could be really nothing. And really, the main reason here, let's look for the word short squeeze. Oh yeah, sure, why not put it all caps, right? So alternatively, others contended that unusually high levels of short interest in GME presented the potential coordinated short squeeze. GameStop had already started to receive attention in Reddit in 2019, including discussion of short squeezes, basically referencing Keith Gill. Nope. Let's see. The potential of buy to cover volume, in addition to individual. Okay, this is the key slide I wanted to go through here. Source, Consolidated Audit Trail, CAT, right? And this is where I got to learn more about CAT. I've been trying to find information, and I feel like, maybe it's just my tinfoil hat speaking, but it's harder than you would expect to find information on it, right? But maybe I just have to dig a little bit deeper, work a little bit harder. But with that being said, in addition to individual investor activity, there was significant participation by institutional investors, including several hedge funds that purchased GME. Some of those purchases have been used, at least in part, to cover short positions. Some of those may have been used, at least in part, right? Look at those keywords there. The potential of buy to cover volume to increase share prices, thus leading to further buys to cover, is often referred to as a short squeeze. The role of a short squeeze may have played is discussed further below. After peaking in late January, volume of GME shares, GME's price declined substantially. GME's decline coincided with broker's decision to restrict trading in GME January 28th, discussed below. By February 3rd, GME's price was below 100, fell as low as 40, blah, 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 rose back to 100, and has remained at the level since. By the end of January 21, some funds had closed out short positions in meme stocks, realizing significant losses. In contrast, some funds that were long GME saw significant gains. Some investors had been invested in the target stocks prior to the market events, benefited unexpectedly from the price rise, while others, including quantitative and high-frequency hedge funds, joined the market rally to trade profitably. Staff believes the hedge funds broadly were not significantly affected by investments in GME and other meme stocks. Staff did not observe that any advisors of private funds or registered funds experienced liquidity issues or difficulties with counterparties. Yet, while the GME share prices volume received attention, they were not unusual for January 21, for instance, these other ones. But what you see here, right, with these other ones, like high shorted stocks at that time, and AMC went so much, it's about the liquidity, right? And I have to, it's like, also they talk about XRT in here a little bit, and this is where I think a lot of people started to put a lot of attention on that. But what I'm looking for here is where they talk about that it was not necessarily a short squeeze, right? Given the high levels of short interest together with the price movements of GameStop, a natural question is the degree to which these price movements arose from a short squeeze. Indeed, some of the meme stock trading was described in news coverage as an act of rebellion against short-selling professionals, investors who had targeted GameStop and other stocks. A short squeeze might occur when an event triggers short sellers to amass to purchase shares. For example, there's sudden increased price. Moving on, further because short sellers could lose the capital they invested. Seeking the answer to this question, staff observed that during some discrete periods, GME had sharp price increases concurrently with known major short sellers covering their short positions after incurring significant losses. During this time, short sellers covering their positions likely contributed to increase the GME's price. But where's the next part? Do they have gamma as a keyword? Another possible explanation could be a gamma squeeze, which occurs when market makers purchase a stock to hedge the risk associated with writing options. And that's where they talk about it there. But this is it. Clearing agencies, NSCC, a lesser extent, OCC, played important roles during January 2021 GME market events. The risk management mechanisms of these clearing agencies effectively led others in the transaction chain, such as retail broker dealers, to pause and manage the risk exposures that arose as the rate of transactions accelerated. Both NSCC and OCC experienced record volumes cleared on January 27, 2021. After market events of January 2021, both NSCC's and OCC's margin requirements returned to prior and more historically consistent levels. So that's really what it was, right? It's the margin requirements, and they really weren't able to meet it. Like, all these brokers had all this come in out of nowhere. They're like, what can we do? But it's like, that's their job to execute these trades, right? And I'm trying to get to what I'm trying to get to here, but margin requirements began at 80%, then increased to 100% the following day. The firm also reduced the trade limit options contracts from 5,000 to 3,000 the next day, from 300 later again to 100. On January 28th, the firm stated that it will restrict all new customer purchases in 8 securities and place them in a position close only. January 29th, the firm stated it would lift position close only status and implement a series of limits on the amount of shares customers could hold in both equity securities and options in a number of securities. The firm made adjustments throughout the day. At one point, January 29th, the firm's list of restricted securities grew over 50 names. So it just shows you the way it's operating is not well as a whole. And T plus one is like a step in the right direction, but really it should ultimately go to T plus zero. That's all I was really trying to get to here. And I think I have to go through and highlight this if I want to make some like specific points on it. And this is funny. Barstool's Dave Portnoy met Steve Cohen spar over GameStop drama. Robinhood's CEO refutes conspiracy theory that hedge funds prompted GameStop trading halt. And then that's where they're like quoting all these sources. Vlad Tenev. Robinhood says restrictions on GameStop's due to tenfold increase in clearinghouse deposit requirements. All right, I'm just getting triggered like reading back on all this, right? But really, again, this is a step in the right direction, but it's all about it getting to be T plus zero and just the market's functioning better. And I understand why there's people who are like pounding on the table like the markets are not functioning right, but it's such a complex thing. It's not just plain and simple. And there's also like people gaming the system, right? That's how I see it. And when you have a lot of capital, like you can make a lot of significant moves, and you could take what you want of all that, right? I feel like I've gone on just complete rant here. Probably a bunch of people have clicked off because I'm just completely going into randomness here, but we'll see if this does anything significant, right? We'll see. Some are theorizing this has something to do with the price rise that we're seeing with GameStop right now. Some are saying it has to do with shares being recalled to vote. You know, at the end of the day, we'll have to see, right? It's not my favorite phases, but definitely exciting month. Let's fucking go. Exactly. January 21, a bunch of people sold deep in the money cash secured puts and used the premium to buy at the money calls. It was insanity. DB, you're absolutely right. It was all kinds of insanity going on there, but I feel like I should move on. You know, I completely just went on a couple tangents there, but really to me, ultimately, if there is something underlying with GameStop, as I believe there is, and I think there's a lot more people betting against it still than it would appear publicly, it's really just down to them driving success and continuing to maintain efficient SG&A, eventually getting revenue back on track. You could see net income is positive. You see this improvement year over year. They just got to keep doing the little things right, and they have to find a way to scale top line and bottom line revenue. And maybe something I'm going to add here in my margins chart is you have gross margin and net margin. I also want operating margin because net margin does account for uh, their interest income, whereas operating margin is simply like what they're operating with, right? It doesn't account for the amount they're making on their interest income. However, having a strong balance sheet, like they have that advantage in a high interest rate environment. And given the way things are going with the macro right now, I wouldn't expect the actual interest rates to be cut at any point this year. I'm making that determination. You could say the Tetron estimate is no rate cuts in 2024 unless something dramatic changes. Although we have a lot more Fed meetings ahead, so we'll have to see. So nothing's for sure. And AI, the scariest but the coolest thing. I was like, create AI, an AI genie coming out of the bottle, right? Because I said the genie's out of the bottle. There's no going back. There's no putting him back in. Like this is literally how I imagine the AI genie. Kind of creepy, but pretty dope pictures. So what I want to get to here, vote no on proposal 4. Badass traders' words, not mine. No, that's game. That's what GameStop says, right? And don't forget to vote, guys. Seriously, don't forget to vote. Again, you got to make your own decisions at the end of the day, but definitely vote. If you own the shares, you have the right to vote. And since we are going to Twitter here, and it looks like what do we have? Like a fake Larry Cheng, Larry Cheng VC. See, fake account. Very strange, but anyways, so this was his initial tweet. Phase 1. You start with high revenue growth, the high burn rate, then you realize due to market conditions that you need to get profitable. Phase 2, you drive for operating leverage. You cut operating expenses, inefficient market spend, headcount, etc. All focus on enhancing gross margins, pricing, cost of goods, shipping. Phase 3, you improve on working capital dynamics. Renegotiate with vendors, suppliers, manufacturers, enhance payment terms to improve cash. GameStop's talked about that or had commentary on that in the past. You clean up the balance sheet, already done. Optimize inventory, renegotiate slash refinance debt, try and solidify cash, etc. And I think GameStop has kind of done these, not necessarily in this order, but I think it definitely pertains to it. So during these 4 phases, revenue's declining year over year, sometimes materially, because you're comping against prior quarters with heavy marketing spend. This is why the quote ugly teenager phase, it looks ugly if you're all looking at the top line, but they're usually good signs. Marketing and sales efficiency is improving, and that's where you look at like SG&A as a percentage of revenue. All OPEX lines are decreasing as a percentage of revenue. EBITDA and OCF is growing. And then you get to phase five. Revenue is declining year over year, but you've achieved profitability, EBITDA and or free cash flow, which GameStop is just there now, but they still have to keep working to keep at that and maintain that, right? Like obviously it's not just like, oh, they got it, it's all said and done. But now it's about phase six, maintaining profitability. Right here, keyword profitability, can't highlight it correctly, and returning to year-over-year revenue growth by investing some of your own cash back into growth. Typically in four steps, sequential growth, quarter-over-quarter gross margin. So that's something we want to look for, right, in this year ahead. I want to see Q1 2024. Let's see this number up, right? Let's pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. I love that quote. 25% maybe. Maybe we get back to closer to 27, right? Maybe that's a little bit more optimistic, but let's definitely see them improve upon that or something to look towards. Then sequential quarter-over-quarter revenue growth. Obviously, you want to do that too. Don't know if we'll necessarily see it this quarter, although I very much hope so. Gross margin growth, and then revenue growth, right? And those are the four steps. And again, it's just general, but we have to realize too, and where he touches on it in here at some point or another, is, or actually it's in the follow-up tweet here, right? The quote tweet is, of course, a perfect valid strategy is to avoid the entire journey towards profitable growth and to simply invest in companies that are profitable going in to begin with, or if you're an operator, to operate your company as a profitable business from inception. But with GameStop, Ryan Cohen did not have control of GameStop since inception. So you have to realize he bought in, took control of the board, took out all the bad actors, all the people making poor decisions to the company, and now has full operational control. So it's really a turnaround situation versus an inception situation. So this doesn't apply to GameStop, right? And I think this is a very good point to realize where, generally speaking, like, it's like, yeah, you could just avoid this altogether. And yeah, this never happened with Chewy, but that's where it's different, right? Where he's still operating in the sense of an entrepreneur. And I had a really good comment. Someone replied to something I tweeted the other day where it's like, Ryan Cohen's not a CEO, he's an entrepreneur. He's all in and he's focusing on working. And I really do think that's a great way to put it. But also, when you look at Chewy, that was something he created from the ground up. So he was able to make sure there never was a situation where they had to go through these 5 or 6 phases to turn the company around. Whereas with GameStop, he bought in. He obviously has some interest in gaming, right? Some shape or form. He saw the opportunity. He saw what could be done, strengthened the brand name. And, I'm just saying what I think he saw, right? But strengthened the brand name, and it's different because he can't do it from inception because it's not inception. Inception is from when the company's created. So it has to completely turn around, right? It's like turning around a pirate ship. It's like turning around Columbus's pirate ship, right? Like you have to rely on the winds. You gotta move the sails, right, or whatever. However they used to do it back then, right? Whereas now a cruise ship, right, can easily just turn, just direct it. We have all this technology. I kind of look at it like that, right? Whereas it's like a plane taking off versus like when you're creating a business, you got to pick up speed to have the plane take off when you're creating the business. Whereas when you're doing a turnaround of a business, I feel like it's like turning an old pirate ship, right? You got to keep moving the sails, right? Keep moving the wheel, keep making sure everyone's like taking their role seriously. It's like a large effort of multiple individuals, right? Like I hope that analogy makes sense. But primary risk with this strategy is any negative variance from the anticipated growth or profitability can lead to a sudden and meaningful loss in value. So that's where you really got to trim all the fat and just operate like incredibly efficiently. And that's also where I think some of these executives they've had, right, that we've seen come and go, that you can see like on here as of the shareholders and that are going to be forfeiting some of their vested shares. Some people come and go. That's just how it goes, right? So let's see. We have Neer Patel. We have Diana SJ. That's what I always call her, just because I can never pronounce that. And then we also, of course, have Not For Long. So the 3 of them have gone. And now we're down to just 3 current executives. And then you have the board of directors, which is also, Larry Cheng, Yang Zhu, and Jim Grube. And Jim Grube and Alan Adel, I would say, are Ryan Cohen's kind of like right-hand mans, or right-hand guys. Not right-hand mans. That's not how, obviously, proper grammar. But they were by his side throughout Chewy. So I really think that's why, they're on the board of directors. I'm sorry, Alan Adel and Larry Cheng. Although Jim Grube is history with Ryan Cohen as well, but really just keeping like a really, really close, tight team. And I would rather a team that operates extremely efficiently. And yeah, maybe hours wise, they can't put as much time in, or we don't know the specifics of that, but I would rather just a team that's really tight and just does all the little things right and it just has a ton of vested interest in where the company's going. But yeah, I think these are some really good tweets about GameStop, in my opinion, they're definitely in reference to GameStop, not entirely, right? Like, such as the part we just touched on about, if you just focus on since inception, not letting this happen, you don't ever have to worry about it. And that's an example of how it's not necessarily directly to GameStop, but I do think, he has to have this disclosure. It is a largely implying stuff that's going on in the games. Like, God, guys, I cannot talk today. It's just one of those days. I don't know if it's the heat, it's so hot by me all of a sudden or whatever, but I just feel like my brain is not working right today. So I do apologize if I'm being extra ranty. For the sake of clarity, these comments are general observation across several different companies in different contexts, many of which I'm not involved with. This is not an observation or prediction related to any specific company and is not investment advice. Because also you got to think from Larry's perspective, he knows people are going to take this and, oh my God, this is definitely GameStop, right? And again, I think a lot of it has to be, I can't talk. I think a lot of it is relevant to GameStop, but it's not entirely 100% about GameStop. But there's a lot of great points you can take from this and go, oh, yeah, I see how this is relative to GameStop, right? And something random, since we're on the topic of Twitter, just popped in my mind. I see a lot of people talk about this account, RC, and then it's like Ryan Cohen's like burner account, and they just randomly will post gifs when GameStop stock starts making like a big move up. And in my opinion, I don't think that's the case, right? I took a screenshot of this tweet just to create an example, and I hope I don't just kick a hornet's nest here, but I think there's bots on this account, and I don't know who it is, unless there's a ton of people that happen to have notifications on for it because they think it's Ryan Cohen. Then I think there's bots because they post at 136. By 132, there's 680 views, 80 likes, 23 reposts. Like, I don't know. It just seems odd to me. And there's another certain YouTuber out there. If you look at any of his tweets, I'm not going to say any names, but you could take a guess of who I might be referencing. That you can definitely obviously see this on, even more so than tweets like this, right? So I think you just got to kind of be aware of that. But again, in this scenario, maybe people think that this is Ryan Cohen and they have tweet notifications on, they get the notification, they click right on it, then maybe that's why this is happening, right? But again, just take things with a grain of salt when you don't know. That's all I'm trying to say here. And like, don't be buying options because you see this account tweets a GIF, right? Or like, I don't know. I just feel like there's maybe one person watching this who's doing that. Like, I got to tell you, like, please take it with a grain of salt, right? But I think most of you watching like don't think like that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got for today. I do apologize. I don't know why. I just feel like my brain is just so much fog today. And you know what's crazy, guys? It's not even like I didn't get a lot of sleep tonight, like last night. I usually wake up for work 7 a.m. I leave the house by 8:30. Today, I woke up at 8:26. Amazingly, I'm blessed to have short hair right now and be able to just get ready extremely fast. When I say short hair, because if I have longer hair, I can't just go to work, right? Right when it's short, it's like not messed up in the morning, so I can just quickly comb it. Boom, I'm good to go. And luckily, I showered the night before, so I was fine. So be it. But I literally had my alarm, and let me know if this happened to you guys. I literally had my alarm set for 7 a.m. and it just did not go off. It straight up just did not go off. And I set an alarm at 8:26 a.m. as my time to go alarm to make sure I leave the house within the next few minutes. That's just what I do each day to make sure I'm not late. And that was the alarm I woke to. And I looked at the clock. I was like, what the fuck? And I literally checked. The other alarm is still checked on as if like it was supposed to go off. And it just never did. It just never did. Like, I might have to take this up with Apple, guys. I might have to hit up Tim Cook and be like, yo, what's good with this? Why is the alarm not going off? And I told a couple coworkers about it. Like, oh, I thought I heard something about that. So, and funny enough, it is 8:26 p.m. by me right now as I say that story. Isn't that funny? But yeah, so you would think getting more sleep than I should have, that I would be more refreshed right now, have a sharper brain today. But I guess that just threw me off. I don't know, because I feel like all day, even at work, I was like, like there's so much to do and like can't not stay focused, but like you just have like an off day and it's like you're like annoyed. It's like I'm trying to figure out what it is. Why am I not at most maximum operational efficiency right now. Like maybe I'm also just a crazy person, but every single day I'm like, how can I be most efficient, right? Even as I'm like crazy like this, right? Like I'm taking down like the clothes in my basement. I will like hang up clothes to dry sometimes, like things I don't want to shrink because I have an awkward body shape, tall and thin, so don't want things to shrink sometimes, so I'll hang certain clothing on. So I'll be like taking it out, like, okay, like I have to be listening to a podcast as I'm doing it, right? Or I have to be doing this at the same time. So I'm always trying to like be extremely optimal, efficient. And sometimes I do it to the point, like I'm like, oh my God, I'm literally driving myself crazy. And it's got to be inefficient how hard I'm trying to be the most maximum efficient, right? So maybe it's a little bit of that. But also, I guess it's just like, I didn't start my morning right. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I think I'm overthinking it, but at the same time, I like GameStop. I like talking about it. I'm trying to be consistent, so I was like, I still got to do the stream. Still got to do the stream. Who cares if my brain's a little fuzzy, right? But just another random thing to touch on that I meant to in a previous stream. I don't know if you guys saw this. Biden-Harris administration announced its final rule requiring automatic refunds for airline tickets and ancillary service fees. Basically, if your flight is canceled or significantly delayed, 3 hours domestically or 6 hours internationally, departures or arrivals from the airport increases in the number of connections. Instances where packages are downgraded to lower class service or connected at different airports or flights on different planes that are less accessible or accommodating to the person with a disability, or also delayed baggage return. Pretty much you can actually get your money back now, right? And it's pretty loose, but it's also pretty straightforward in this aspect, right? 3 hours domestically, 6 hours internationally. So if you have an international flight that's delayed 7 hours, you're supposed to be entitled to your money back now, right? And I think about both sides of the coin here. One side of me is like, this is a great thing, where it's like, oh, if I get fucked by the airline, I'm gonna get my money back and I'm gonna get to travel free, right? Fantastic. But on the other side of the coin, you have to know like, if you you give and you take, right? So I think the airlines are just going to raise their prices over time. Unfortunately, right? I feel like they always do, but it's going to be priced into it, right? Obviously, I think they're going to try and be the most efficient in terms of how they operate, so they don't have to, right? And I bet there'll be a lot of cases that delay a flight domestically 2 hours and 59 minutes. Oh, technically, it was not within the time frame where you're going to have to get refunded, right? There'll be situations like that, but the good thing is, like, you'll get your money back, and that sounds really great. And as far as I'm aware, reading this, it seems effective immediately. But the bad side is, it's going to become even more expensive to travel, right? And it's going to get priced in. And I think it'll be a slow price in. Like, we won't necessarily see it, but I'm going to be one of those things. Like, maybe in a year from now, you look at it, you're like, bruh, I literally just flew to the same place last year, and it's so much more now. What the heck? Like, I think it's kind of like one of those things, just like inflation right now, right? Where you don't necessarily notice it every day, but then you look back a year later, you're like, eggs used to be $3, not $4. What the heck? Like just small stuff like that, right? So just wanted to touch on that briefly. But again, guys, I do apologize. I feel like I wasn't as sharp as I could be today. So gonna bounce back strong next week. Actually, though, keep an eye on Friday. I might do another one of those style streams that I did this previous Friday, if you guys saw. We're just after work, come home, sit outside if the weather's nice, just talk with you guys, hang out, do some little Q&A. I don't know, why not, right? Just trying to keep growing. Also, if you guys have any ideas of something else you'd like to see me do, I can't promise I do it. I'm really just trying to do more, even besides like talking stocks, business, GameStop, like, and just do more, right? Because I really want to just make content. I want to work for myself one day. Like, I truly want to make Tetron into something epic. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to keep going until I figure it out. And at the end of the day, like, I just want to make content, right? That's something I genuinely enjoy. Like, it's fun doing these live streams. I really don't look at it as work. And I have a genuine interest in building wealth and GameStop stock, Bitcoin, individual stocks. So I'm just trying to find ways I can do more. And I think the best thing I could do is just keep putting out content, right? Just make sure I do a bunch of live streams every week. Get back to being consistent with the videos, right? And I don't know, like I said, if you guys have any ideas of something you'd be interested in, like, oh, like, I think you'd be funny doing this, or oh, it'd be interesting, like if you did a segment on the live stream of this, right? Any ideas? Like, I'm totally open to literally hear any ideas, right? Again, I can't promise I'm gonna do anything necessarily, but I want to just hear the ideas you guys might have. So definitely feel free to comment any of those. But yeah, let's hit the chat one more time before we do. Oh, I apologize. I always forget to change to all chat. So I really hope I didn't miss any of you guys here. And I think pretty much everything comes through. Very rarely does it get filtered as like a spam chat type of thing. But and just like that, all them screaming DRS causes low volume are gone. You know, I really want to watch Forrest Gump again. That's such a good movie. I really do want to watch it again. And you know what movie I love? Or not? Yeah, yeah, that's Forrest Gump, right? I used to always mix it up with Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That is such a good movie, right? That's such a classic. Like, it's so good. And then he's wearing like the, and I always love hockey, so like the fact he's wearing like the Red Wings jersey, I just think that's sick. Like, that's such a good movie, man. Such a good movie. Maybe I should watch that this weekend. It's such a classic, but definitely an exciting month. Let's go. A bunch of people who sold deep in the money cash secured puts and use premiums to buy at the money calls. It was insanity. DB, yeah. Oh, I think already read that one. But also, you know, I'm not trying. I want to clarify one thing real quick. I'm not trying to take away from anyone that trades. There's absolutely nothing wrong with trading. It's about knowing thyself. Like that's what I think is important. I think there's some people out there who are like trading, but they mean to be investing. Generally speaking, like newer people getting involved in the market, like I talk to friends sometimes that start dabbling and like, I just got it wasn't going up. I'm like, no, but like if you believe in the company, like you should be buying in with the intention of just hanging on, right? For what's to come in the next decade. Like if you truly believe in it. But like, oh no, I was just trying to make money quick. I'm like, well, then you're trading. So you have to like know what you're doing and like what you're getting yourself into, right? Just that's the perspective I'm only trying to share on that. I'm never trying to say like, oh, traders are evil, trading is bad, right? But I think you just have to know yourself. That's all I'm trying to say. Like I think you have to know yourself. That's really so important to just know what's best for you and how you operate most efficiently, right? That RC Twitter account is not RC. That's a BBY speculation. Dear Ashimi, couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more, right? And it's I speculate that there's bots on that, right? And that's just how I see it. But Challenger, thanks for popping in. Glad to see you here. They have this rule in Europe. If your flight is delayed more than 4 hours, you can claim 600 euros. Oh, dearest Jimmy, I appreciate that insight. That's pretty cool. I did not know that, so definitely appreciate that. And it's so cool to me that guys that like I literally have people watching me like around the world. Like I know like not every single country like there's a Tetron follower, right? Or not even follower. I don't even like to say that. Like just person along with me on my journey, right? That's the best way I like to look at it. But it's crazy to me seeing like there's people watching me in Europe and like just it's just crazy to me. Like it's international, right? And GameStop's international too. That's also crazy, man. There's so many people invested that are international, right? Like one guy I think of on Twitter, or a couple people. I know Wandering Gale is from like if you've seen him on Twitter /X. Shout out to him. He's from Ireland, and then you have like Negative Banana. Shout out to him. He's from Germany, so you got people like all over the place. Like it's so incredible. Like it's actually so incredible. And I am going to Europe for the first time this summer, so stay tuned. I'm gonna do some content while I'm there. Not even necessarily investment content, just showing people what it's like in some cool areas because I'll be doing like the touristy stuff, right? And I'm super excited. It's my first time ever going to Europe. I'm going with my girlfriend. Someone in her family is getting married, so we're going for the wedding, but then we're also extending upon the trip to make it just a trip for us to just see some stuff. So the main part of the trip is Croatia. And we're also going to be going to Austria for one night. So it's mostly Croatia. It's not really like an all around Europe thing. But I am of the Croatian descent. So, like, my grandpa was born there as well as my grandma. So it's going to be cool to kind of see, like, where they. I mean, I'm not going to see exactly where they grew up, but just, like, I don't know. It's just exciting. Exciting, right? It's just going to be cool. So, and be able to tell him, like, Grandpa, I went to Croatia. Like, and he's like, you know, people go older and he's, you know, it's having a hard time, like, remembering things and just, grasping things, but it's just he's really gonna be like, oh, like you really went, right? Like I've already told him I'm going, but just to like show him like pictures, like look, I'm like here, and he's like, oh yeah, I know like this place, like so that'll be really cool, right? That'll be a cool moment to share when I get back. But yeah, love that movie. Me too, Wendy. Me too. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, absolutely epic. I really think I have to watch it again now. Now that I'm talking about it, like I really think I gotta watch it again. I'm pro learning. DB, that's the way to go. Just keep learning, man. Just keep learning. Like really, that's the goal of Tetron, to just have people on the journey with me. Like you guys are all everyone's on their own path, right? But follow me on my journey of building wealth, becoming the best version of myself, and hopefully one day guys, that you're gonna be able to look back and be like, I'm gonna have lots of people commenting on my streams. We're gonna have lots of people looking at the content I put out and be like, wow, this guy is doing all this and that. And you're gonna be like, oh my god, like I saw when he was just rambling away back on live streams back in 2024, and now like he's so well articulated and look how far he's come, right? And hopefully along that time you too can come along and not necessarily streaming, right? Or putting out content. I'm not saying everyone needs to do that, but whatever you're trying to get better at and work your way towards, like you go, oh, I remember like I was working on this at this time and now I'm here. And look, Tetra was working on it at that time and now he's here, right? So yeah, just keep grinding, and know thyself, brick by brick, little by little, just keep improving, right? Just keep improving. The older I get, the more I'm realizing that just doing more. Just keep going at it, right? And even days where you feel like, like this is so shitty, or like, I'm never gonna get to where I need to be. Just like be self-aware enough that, okay, I am feeling like this right now, but when I wake up tomorrow, I don't have to have that same mindset. I'm not gonna feel that same way. I shouldn't just throw in the towel because I'm having one bad day, right? And I feel like that's not exactly what's happened in the past, but there's definitely times where I've let a negative day in the past carry over like multiple days ahead, and I'm very fortunate enough to be maturing now and realizing like no, like you need to have an iron mindset. And also I'm trying to do the little things right, like sleep more, I eat much better, like I don't eat shit food all the time. I used to have like an insane Taco Bell crazy. I went through this like crazy phase. I was ordering Taco Bell. I mean, always only late night, right? Like I'm not a psycho, like I don't eat it like for lunch all the time, right? But I would just eat it late night. But I was like, no, like, all right, that's like not good. And just in general, like I was just eating out like lots. But I'm like, all right, like could eat out on occasion. Gotta eat fruits and vegetables. Gotta do the little things right. But again, I'm completely just rambling here, right? I'm literally just keep rambling here. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. Matt Haney, thank you for being here. DB, thanks for being here. Jesse, thanks for popping in. Strive to learn a new fact every day. DB, that's a great way to be, man. That's a great way to be. I was thinking to try and learn a new word every day. That's something I thought of recently. Um, I don't know how. I guess you could just do like dictionary, right? But I want it to be like a relevant word. That's the thing. So yeah, I don't know, but I think I'll wrap it up there for today. And last thing I'll say, if you're trying to learn something or conceptualize something, I think AI is a great tool. And I keep saying this, but it's so true. It's the scariest, but it's the coolest thing. It's a great tool for like creating the AI images. That's how I'm able to create these super dope thumbnails that I've been putting on these videos, our live streams. But also it can help you like understand information. Like, you shouldn't blindly trust it. Like, what is the best stock to buy? How to make a lot of money? Like, it's obviously not going to give you stuff like that. That's why I think people are like, oh, AI is so stupid. It can't teach you anything. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. I'm like, okay, like if I don't understand this paragraph, something about this is confusing, I can type into AI, right? I can be like something like this. I can be like, clarify what this means, and then I could just put it in like that, right? And then after it spits it back out, be like, can you explain it in simple terms? Why would somebody think like that? Like, you can just keep asking it information, right? And the more you ask it, the more it spits back at you, and the more you can think, right? So I think it, in a way, can level up your thinking. And how I use it at work sometimes is I use it as like kind of like Grammarly. I'll be like, I'll type an email, like, sounds good, but it's just too wordy, right? Or it's just not, it's something about it doesn't seem right. So I'll put like grammar correct and improve, or grammar correct and shorten, but make sure the main point is still gotten across. And I'll put it in and it'll spit something back at me. And it's not that it's necessarily perfect, but I'm like, oh, okay, like instead of saying like, or you could do this, I can change the sentence to say, alternatively, you may adjust the transfer, right? Because I work in like transfer department where I'm at. So I used to say like, oh, or you could do or you could adjust your transfer request to be for a different amount. Let's say, please resubmit the transfer request. Alternatively, if you want the transfer to be for a different amount, like basically too, what I'm trying to say is what it spits back at you, like you start to like think about that in the future, and it kind of helps you. For me at least, it's helped me write better emails over time and just be more clear and concise in what I write. So that's just a couple ways it's helped me. I think again, like you could be a little nervous about AI and skeptical of it, but like you could still use it for like your own personal benefit, right? And again, gotta do what's best for you. Gotta do what's best for you at the end of the day. But even ChatGPT needs help to understand the Larry Cheng tweets. LOL. I like that, DB. Yeah, it's true. Larry, what do they say? Like, uh, uh, Volition Capital by day, wordsmith by night. I thought I saw someone put that, but I feel like that's so true. Is there a free chat GPT you'd recommend or all a paid thing? Oh, Jesse, no, there's definitely free. The main ones I use, I actually don't really use, I only really use ChatGPT at work. Uh, just because I started it a long time ago, and if you use the same chat over and over, it starts to adapt to you even more and more and give you more and more relevant. Like the emails that it spits back at me are pretty close to how I type now, right? Because it's kind of learned me, but like in a sharper version, and it's again just in turn made me sharper over time. But most of them they have a free version, right? And the other one, like the other two that you can use, that have like real time information, like ChatGPT, you need the premium to have like up to date. Like ChatGPT free is only trained up to like January 2021. But again, if you're just using it like grammar correct and improve and stuff like that, it doesn't matter. But there's also, well, yeah, Grok is only if you have Twitter Premium, which I only have because I'm trying to grow the touch on brand. But the free ones are Gemini by Google, and then also if you have Microsoft Edge just on any Microsoft computer, it's when you go in the Bing search bar, it's click Copilot. That's also like that's mostly how I generate my AI images. It's the Microsoft Bing, and you go to Copilot. That's their AI. And again, you don't use it to like blindly like, oh, like write my essay, right, or something like that, or do this, right? But I'll be like, okay, if I have this amount of revenue, this amount of cost of goods, this amount, like I was doing it to break down the Walmart numbers, right? Instead of using a calculator, right? Like when I was doing these numbers, I was like, okay, if the company has this amount of revenue, this amount in cost of goods, this amount in SG&A, what percentage are they respectively? Like, yes, I could do that in a calculator, but to me, it's just spitting it out, and then it may right, and it spit it out in a way that it's like 20 cents of every $1 goes towards SG&A, and I'm like, oh, I never thought of it in that aspect, right? So I really think it's just a great way to get you thinking. But Gemini, oh no, sorry, it's not called Gemini by Google. Oh yeah, is it? Wait a minute. Yes, Gemini. That's what it is. Gemini. It used to be called Bard, and then they changed it, right? And then the other free one is just Copilot, like if you're just on pretty much any Microsoft computer, right, where you get the Microsoft Edge. But yeah, I feel like it's pretty good. And yeah, I think we'll wrap it up for today. Guys, I don't know what it is. My brain is just not fully sharp today, but really, I appreciate you guys watching. And stay tuned. Keep an eye out. If I'm going live Friday, I'll tweet it out. But regardless, I'll tweet out the schedule for next week. And just stay tuned. Keep improving Tetron brick by brick, just like GameStop has to keep improving brick by brick. But yeah, thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good night.